as always, with number 1, the Bad Batch review episode. Number 5, Rampage. Clone Force 99 needs to find a way to get some information on the bounty hunter that we know as Fennec Shand off their tail. They make for the planet Ord Mantell and meet with Sid, an information broker who had dealings with the Jedi before their demise. Sid promises credits and information if the batch can track down an adolescent Rancor named Moochie. We get a glimpse of Moochie tearing things up while the batch takes on the slave traders who imprisoned the beast. Wrecker beats the beast in a one-on-one duel to gain alpha status, just like those hillbillies. After the rest of the crew dispatches the slavers, they return to Sid and hand over the beast to none other than Jabba the Hutt's chief gopher, Bib Fortuna, and receive the payment they were promised. The new mystery is who hired Fennec Shand in the first place, and we're left with that thread to pull on for the next episode. Bib Fortuna popping up in anything.
That was amazing for me. I loved it.
I knew it was him. I knew it was him, like, from the jump. Mm-hmm. I knew it was Bib Fortuna because, like, there's just like a cadence to the way that character talks, even though they didn't show him. They just sort of like showed him on the holovid from like the waist up. I was like, that's Bib Fortuna.
So cool. And so we got some Jabba action. This is, like, to me, this episode, and we're not halfway through this season, but this felt like it felt like the good Star Wars movies, the very middle portion of any of those movies now, where you're getting like, you're getting some like, oh, here comes like, the big bad, but you're not getting everything. Right. And there was a lot to me I think this episode was, without the credits, was like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was shorter.
Like, really flew by, but a lot happened in just those 20 minutes. Like, Fennec Shand, we get, this Rancor thing, just cleaning house, which was fun. Like him just going around. And then, we find out, okay, Jabba the Hutt, awesome. So I think this was like one of those episodes where they kind of knew, like, since we're going to get Bib Fortuna in here, let's get to him quicker rather than later and get people excited. Because this was one of those episodes, like, every episode is they get captured. They figure out a way.
It seems that way. Yeah.
And which is fine because it is, at the end of the day, it still is a cartoon.
Right.
So you have to have that kind of element. Like Scooby-Doo is always the same thing. Who's the guy in the mask?
Sure. I was thinking that exact same thing, actually. Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, that's fine. And I don't mind that because I have to put myself in that mindset. And even the Star Wars movies are kind of like that. I mean, even the best ones are something happens, how do they get out? I mean, it's just a different scale. And this one was just, I think this one was so far of that idea of like, they're captured. How do they get out? Was, I think, the most, it just sounds weird, the most Star Wars-esque, because it was like, this big bad thing comes around. It's like, oh, it's a Rancor. This, and they thought it was someone else. They thought it was just the little green guy.
Little girl. Yeah, the little green girl.
Yeah, the green girl. And they thought, and then it's like, no, it's this huge thing just wrecking house that you got to tame down. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then the fact that, there had to be the alpha. Wrecker had to become the alpha. And the fight was really funny to me because they're just barely taking swings at each other at the end. So it was just like that good, not in that way that like Star Wars does the thing where it's funny without just smacking you in the face being funny.
Sure.
Like the good ways they do that. So that's what I liked about it. Omega, her little having the transmitter thing and her playing around with that. Like I thought for a second, I'm like, oh, they're probably going to play into this too much. But they didn't. So I like that.
Sure.
No, I thought this one was actually just a really good middle episode, as if I was looking at a middle of a movie or even a middle movie of this series. It was just like that kind of playing into all those little things that I like about Star Wars.
I think that this episode was personally exciting for me because of the planet that they went to. Gets a lot of like screen time in terms of it's talked about a lot, Ord Mantell. And one of the things, and this is just a crazy coincidence, and I'll get to this in my media recommendations, but I bought a graphic novel from a comic book shop down in Wilmington, and it was a Darth Maul story arc. It's a 4-comic. It's Darth Maul, son of Dathomir, and they go onto this planet, and like that's where like Darth Maul, after he gets resurrected, he like forms this crime syndicate army called the Shadow Collective, and this is the planet that they kind of operate on. So for them to kind of go there makes me wonder if we're going to find out that the person who hired Fennec Shand was Darth Maul, and he gets
Yeah.
introduced into the series, which would be great. He's been in a lot of like Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, so it would fit the motif as far as kind of sliding into this show as well. So that was really cool. Obviously, the Bib Fortuna thing was amazing. I actually took the time to look up whether or not Moochie was the Rancor that Luke takes down in Return of the Jedi. It is not. Some theorize that is the mother or father of that Rancor, whose name is like Patisa or something like that. I should have written it down. But yeah, I mean, and then like the pig guards, obviously, that are always with Bib and in Jabba's palace and everything like that. Yeah, I mean, this episode was like, I'm kind of getting over my original feelings of episode 2 being too soon for the whole we've got to get her out of here, this isn't a place for a child arc, because it just seems like now that she's becoming more and more part of the team, so to speak.
Yes.
She got her little bow and arrow thing in this episode. She picked it up. I'm sure that's going to play a role down the line. I would like if they gave us a little bit more exposition about what Crosshair is up to. I know they did in a previous episode, but I feel like I wish that they would work that in a little bit more rather than just, every third episode or something like that, where they kind of focus on his story. I wish they'd give us a little bit more, but at the same time, it's like you said, it was like 20 minutes long. So how do you really give that type of exposition with also making a coherent story for the actual main characters? So
and plus this is like what, 14
hairs.
episodes?
Yeah, 14
too.
episodes,
so like there's going to be probably an episode that is probably primarily focusing on that too.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm down the road. This was just to kind of, play into the Star Wars fans of our age, I think, more than anything. I think that was kind of the thing.
I think that this episode hit kind of like you said, hit the sweet spot between character development, humor, and the action, which was pretty good. I still like Wrecker is like nails on a chalkboard to me. He's just like, boo! He's like just this big dumb whatever, and it served its purpose in this episode specifically because he's fighting an adolescent Rancor, but most of the time he just grates on me. I wish we got, I don't know. I just don't, I guess I don't like that character. I mean, the character is necessary, like the character archetype, they have to have one in this group.
Sure.
But he just annoys me, I guess. But other than that, I think that they really hit the sweet spot in this episode. I think this was probably, outside of the first one, which was 70 minutes long and basically its own intro movie, I think that this was probably the best episode.
Yeah, and I think this was actually just my favorite episode, even like the first one aside, because it just hit all the notes without trying too hard, which is what I want from any Star Wars content, but especially something like this. So yeah, I definitely like where we're going with it. If this is it's trending upward too. I feel like, the first episode was really good and it kind of slipped a little, but now it seems like it's gradually getting better each episode.
Yeah, definitely.